Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to talk about Character Pack DLC. So this is something that we spoke about a year ago and I've had some time to reflect and see how it could be done better. Also, you know, the video format has been changed, everything's a bit more structured now, and I kind of want to revisit that subject. So the idea of a Character Pack DLC came to me when I was looking at the army books when I was doing my Missing Unit series. Eventually, we're going to run out of units. It's something that is going to happen, but there's a lot of characters that were established in the lore that we just might not see if they only want to stay with Lord packs. This is the typical race versus race DLC where a legendary lord faces against a legendary lord and a bunch of units are added in for both. Eventually, when the units run out, well, we're only left with characters, and there's a lot of characters that could be implemented. You know, this is 40 years worth of lore, there's a lot of stuff. Now, before we continue, yes, it's very likely that we will get new units as the years progress, mostly because Warhammer the Old World is going to be a thing, I guess, when I die of old age, but that will introduce more units, and it's a great way to cross-promote. Hopefully, Games Workshop have learned that this is a good way to go and allow for Creative Assembly to use new units. It's not just Warhammer 40,000 in the Warhammer IP. I really wish they would learn that. So what exactly would be a Character Pack DLC? Well, this would add in some characters, usually in the form of Legendary Lords and possibly some Legendary Heroes too, and it could be done in a number of ways. One, and I am imagining that this is the one that people won't like, it could follow just a single race, where a character pack could come out introducing, say, 2 Legendary Lords and 2 Legendary Heroes for, say, the Greenskins, for example, as there's a lot of different locations where the Greenskins could be, and yeah, it just adds in some more characters. This would just be characters, unique mechanics, and that's it. But it adds in a lot more flavor, and it gives you new starts in case you're itching for a new Greenskin campaign but don't want to play Skarsnik again, or Grom, or Grimgor, you want something new. So this would bring in 2 Legendary Lords, 2 Legendary Heroes, this is just a basic example, and then there could be an FLC Legendary Lord too. The idea is just add some more flavor. The second could be a bit more interesting for the player base, which would be following the Lord Pack format, where you'd get race versus race, but it wouldn't add in any units. This would be kind of good because that means that multiple races get some attention, and it could be 1 Legendary Lord and Legendary Hero for one race, or 2 Legendary Lords, it very much depends. This is just going from some ideas. It could literally be 2 Legendary Lords and 2 Legendary Lords for another race, with an FLC focusing on a third race. We've had this already with certain DLC launches, and I think that works out quite well. This also makes sure that a very obvious issue with the Total War Warhammer series, races getting abandoned for a while, doesn't happen again. A perfect example would be Norska or even the Warriors of Chaos, who are getting reworked now, but 5 years later. It's a long time for people to get DLC, and a lot of people see them as favorites. The same thing as, say, for example, the Beastmen. Now they've got an extensive rework, their army list is almost more or less done, but they still have some interesting characters that could be implemented. So why would this system work? Well, there's a few reasons. The first would be we'd likely get some DLC in a faster rate. Keep in mind that right now, as it stands, DLC has been releasing really slowly. I'm not just talking about Warhammer 3, which we still don't have the DLC yet, but just Warhammer in general. Warhammer 2 did start having a pretty big drought, which obviously would make players lose interest and just reduce the average amount of players at a general time. So this would make it a little bit more common for people. Like, say for example, what happened with Rakaf. That was a out of the moment thing. Nobody really expected that, and I think people really liked that because it was a new Dark Elf Legendary Lord. When it comes to this being DLC, well, I don't think it would take as long as standard DLC because it's rather simple. You're not getting loads of new units that need to be animated, you're just getting 4 characters. It's just basically that. Or 2 characters. It very much depends on what Creative Assembly would want to do if they would do this. So without introducing loads of units at the same time and not having to animate them, balance them, and all that usual stuff, this probably could make it a little faster, which means that in between Lord packs, in between race packs, we could then have a Character Pack DLC to make things run a little smoother and to make sure that the community is still engaged a lot. That ties in with the whole thing of people wanting their favorite races to get some attention, even if it's just a character so they can play it again. This adds in that opportunity. So say, for example, right now we've got the Warriors of Chaos rework / DLC on the way. I don't imagine that there'll be much after that for this year at the very least, because, you know, we're expecting Chaos Dwarves, but the game's getting fixed at the moment, and I understand that that's the most important thing. But before the next Lord Pack or Race Pack, whatever comes after that, why not this? Tide people over for a while, keep people interested. But the next thing is reworks. Right, so a lot of the times reworks come with DLC, and we've noticed that some races and factions end up getting the lower end of the stick when it comes to that, because a lot of attention went for a DLC, and then obviously the same DLC team was working on the patch. So what happens there? Well, if we look, for example, towards the Silence and the Fury, the Beastmen got all the attention, the Lizardmen got diddly squat. Yeah, they did get something quite good, because Oxyotl a really fun character. It's probably one of my... No, it is my favorite legendary lord for the Lizardmen, but the Lizardmen could have done with some touch-ups here and there. So rather than spending all that time on, say, all the units, they could then put the extra man hours to start working on reworks. So if a big patch comes alongside this, get the Lizardmen out of the way. Or the Vampire counts definitely need another rework at this point, so why not do that? Just fix up the factions and then start adding in some other DLC with big characters and then a lot of units with them. It's the idea of having a better patch cycle alongside the DLC, and I think this could work out quite well. The thing is, the Immortal Empires map is also quite big as far as we've seen from the data mine, and some further data mining said that there was around, what, 500 settlements? More than that? It's a lot of empty space for a lot of possible factions to be implemented, legendary lords, which we would rather see at some point, because we all have our favorites. I've spoken a lot to community members before, and they'd be like, oh, I like this really obscure character. It's like, well, yeah, he's pretty cool. It would be interesting to see said character being implemented, but I don't think that they could justify a DLC under pretty much a character with very, very little lore significance, because, well, it's just going to make a lot of people go, who, you know? So by doing this, it's adding in characters which wouldn't be front and center for a big DLC like a Lord Pack or a big DLC like a Race Pack. And this would definitely help, say, for example, races that were already implemented but in a complete form or near enough complete, like, say, the Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast, you know, those race packs which were done in the way that we expect race packs to be done, but they've got some missing characters. The Vampire Coast have Vanheist missing, Scratch Half Dead, you know, a few characters here and there, and the Tomb Kings have, well, quite a decent amount of characters that were implemented in the lore, but might not be a DLC character. Yes, there's a few, like, say, for example, Prince Apophis, which would definitely be a DLC character, or at least DLC worthy, but smaller ones would be implemented just to add in a few more star positions. That's pretty much the main thing here. But what do you think about this idea? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what really obscure character or just a general character you'd like to see, which you don't think would fit well with a big highlight DLC, but rather a smaller character pack. And yeah, let's start a bit of a discussion.